At some point in time on the night of October 25th, 2014, did you see Chelsea at the party?
Yes.
Do you know approximately what time she arrived at the party?
She was there about 11 p.m.
Is it your understanding that's the approximate time she arrived, or is that the first time that you saw her at the party?
That's the first time I saw her there.
To the best of your knowledge, was she at the party when you arrived around 10 o'clock?
No, we were communicating through text.
Do you know how Chelsea originally planned on getting to the party that night?
I don't know.
Do you know who she ultimately received a ride from to the party?
Laura.
Do you know Laura's last name?
Taylor?
And when you first saw Chelsea at the party, can you describe in detail what she was wearing?
She had the brunette wig, her poison ivy costume. She had black leggings on underneath, and she had a jug of poison.
When you say jug of poison, can you describe that in further detail?
It was like a glass jug.
Do you believe that was part of her costume?
Yes.
When you say she had black leggings, do you know any other ways to describe what those were?
Like a black stretchy pant.
If they had been characterized as tights, would that be accurate?
I don't think they're as see-through as tights, but yeah, like tights.
And you indicated that she was wearing a tank top. What was on the bottom part of her costume other than the tights?
It was just like the leaves, like a skirt. Looked like a skirt, but it was, the leaves came down a little bit over, so it was covering.
Is it possible she was wearing a one-piece leotard underneath the costume, or underneath the leaves?
Possibly.
You indicated the wig was a brunette wig. Was there any other color tones in the wig?
The tips had like a reddish tone to them. Reddish purple.
Can you describe her demeanor when you first saw her around 11 o'clock p.m. at the party?
She was happy to be there.
Did you observe anything unusual about her behavior or her condition when she first arrived at the party?
No.
Or I'm sorry, when you first saw her at the party?
No.
And who, did she approach you at the party?
Yes.
And where were you located at that time?
There was a big tent with like heaters. I was under the tent.
And who were you with?
I believe I was with Penny Watkins at the time. I think Jessica Probable. And then they had a couple of girls that I didn't know.
And how long did you remain in that area with Chelsea?
In that main area for a little while. We kind of wandered around, but mainly stayed where it was warm.
Was there a point in time when you and Chelsea parted ways?
Yes.
And how did that happen?
Well, there was a lot of people there. She just, I guess, wandered off.
Do you know who she wandered off with, if anyone?
I do not.
At some point in time, do you know whether or not she was hanging out with your friend Penny Watkins?
I don't think so. Penny was with me mainly.
When's the last time you saw Chelsea at the party?
It was right after she ran into the pole and hit her nose.
Do you know approximately what time that was?
It's probably a little before 1 o'clock.
Did she indicate, did she make any indication whether or not she wanted to stay at the party or she wanted to leave at that time?
Yeah, she wanted to stay and hang out.
What time did you leave the party?
It was a little after 1 o'clock.
And who did you leave with?
Penny and her sister.
Did you drive with them or did you drive separately?
Well, since my keys were locked in the car, I had to leave with them at that time.
Was there anyone at the party that you were in a relationship with, or that you were, some male that you were speaking to?
Yeah, we just started talking.
Is it possible that he might have given you a ride home on that evening?
No, he didn't have a car.
At some point during the night, were you provided with Chelsea's belongings or her phone?
Yes.
And can you tell me how that happened?
After she hit her nose, Laura actually called or texted me, I don't remember, but said she was coming back because Chelsea's belongings were left in her truck, in Laura's truck. And she was there and wanted to give me her phone. So it kind of all happened all at once. Chelsea hit her nose, we kind of laughed about it, and Chelsea went one way, I went out to Laura to get the phone, and when I came back, I couldn't find her.
What did you do with the phone?
I just kept it.
And when you say kept it, do you mean you took it home with you that night?
I did.
The next day, did you make any efforts to get in touch with anyone to get Chelsea her phone?
Yes, I actually contacted her family, letting them know I had her phone, so they could come get it whenever Chelsea came home.
And stepping back a little bit, can you describe Chelsea's condition at the time she hurt her nose? The time you saw her after she hurt her nose, I guess I should say.
Yeah, she was okay. She actually laughed about it. She's a little clumsy. She wasn't hurt.
No further questions. Thank you.
Cross. Thank you, Judge. Ms. Brinson, you testified that you worked at Olga's with Chelsea,
Yes.
and that the two of you were good friends.
Yes.
And I think you indicated that you started working there in 2014.
Yes.
And you worked the same shifts.
Sometimes.
What was your job there?
I was a server.
What did Ms. Bruck do there?
She was a host.
And in addition to working together, did you do social things as well?
Yes.
Okay. Did you consider yourself a good friend?
Yes.
Did you share confidences?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this particular evening, you spoke of the Halloween party. You spoke of Ms. Bruck having a jug of poison.
Yes.
And that was actually a large jug of wine.
Correct.
And do you know the capacity of the jug?
Like how big?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a pretty nice size.
Okay. And during the evening, did you see Ms. Bruck consume any of the wine?
She had, I believe, 2 glasses of it.
Were you with her the whole time?
Till the end, yeah.
Was there a period of time that she shared company with a gal by the name of Penny Watkins?
Yes.
Were you with her during that period of time?
Yes.
Okay. And your testimony is she only consumed 2 glasses in your presence?
That I've seen, yes.
Okay. Is it, just so I'm clear, is it true that you weren't separated from her at all during the evening?
I mean, at the end, we were.
Okay. And how did that come about again?
I went to get her phone from Laura, and she went back into the party, and there was just so many people, I couldn't find her, and my ride had to leave.
Okay. And who took you home that night?
Penny Watkins?
Okay. Were you consuming alcohol during the evening?
Yes.
And were you intoxicated?
I wasn't falling over drunk, but I had a few beers, yes.
How many beers did you have over what period of time?
Maybe 3 or 4 over 4 hours.
Ms. Bruck, did she appear to be intoxicated to you?
No.
Were you with her when she hit her head on the pole?
Right after she did it, her and Jessica told me about it. They walked up right after she ran into the pole.
So you weren't with her at that point?
No.
Was the injury to her face noticeable?
At that time, no, but it was really dark.
What area of the face did the pole impact, if you know?
I believe she was holding the left side. It was like her nose.
You're indicating the bridge of the left part of her nose?
Yeah, I think so.
Was she bleeding at any time that you noticed?
No.
Did you ever see her at the party when she was physically ill?
No.
Did you ever see her at the party when she was crying?
No.
Did you notice at any time her consuming any type of street drug, marijuana, or otherwise?
No.
Now, during the time you were together, was there a time when she was flirting with certain male individuals?
No.
You did not observe any time when she and Penny Watkins were flirting with 3 guys?
I mean, we were talking to them. Some of the people that we were with knew them.
Okay, but you didn't think
I've
that
seen her
there was
talk.
flirting going on. That's an old style term, I know. It's what old people use. But you understand the tenor of the question, correct?
Yeah.
You didn't see any of that going on?
I seen them talking to the guys, yes.
Did they appear to be very friendly?
The guys?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, they were nice.
Okay. And were the ladies friendly in return?
Yes.
Now, you indicated that you and Ms. Bruck were good friends.
Yes.
And you talked about private matters. Did she ever talk to you about her sex life?
Objection, Your Honor. We would suggest that this is not relevant, as it does not have the tendency to make the existence of any fact that is of material consequence to this case more or less probable. So we do not believe that this would be admissible, with the exception of any statements that the victim would have said regarding relationship with the defendant.
Judge, this case, first of all, we're not in front of a jury. In this case, as the facts will develop, the sexual history and the proclivities to engage in certain types of sexual behavior is crucial to the court's understanding of this case. That will become known once the medical experts are here and testify. And the information that this witness has is crucial to us in framing certain issues to the court at a later time. So I'd ask for a little discretion and ask that I be allowed to explore this avenue of questioning. I think it goes to the crux of the case. I'm not doing it for any other reason other than it's extremely relevant to facts which this court hasn't heard yet.
And we disagree, Judge. We don't anticipate any of our experts talking about the sexual history of the victim or anything regarding any specific behaviors that she engaged in. Our experts wouldn't have any personal knowledge of any of that.
I'll allow it and give it the weight I feel is appropriate.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Ms.
Only answer the
Brinson,
question if you know the answer.
yeah, I'll rephrase it, Judge. I actually don't recall the question that I initially presented to Ms. Brinson. But you talked about sexual matters.
Yes.
Were you aware of any type of sexual proclivities that the victim had that were a little unusual?
For example,
Did she like rough sex?
what's your definition of rough?
Oh, you know, like you say, I'm a gentleman of a certain age. Sort of violent or aggressive sex?
No.
Okay. Do you know, did she like to be choked as part of the sexual adventure?
No.
Ms. Brinson, did you give a statement to Detective Jeffrey Smith at some point in this investigation?
I don't remember the officers, but yes, I have given statements.
Did you indicate that Ms. Bruck was very promiscuous to Detective Smith?
Yes.
What is your definition of very promiscuous?
Sleeping with a few men,
Okay. What's a few mean?
more than
Your Honor,
usual.
I just want to know, again, our ongoing objection to relevance.
Yeah, so I can understand the line of questioning having to do with the type of sex. That's been answered. Whether she decided to have sex with one or more than one man over whatever period of time is not relevant in my opinion, but you're welcome to try to convince me otherwise.
Thank you, Judge. I would, however, follow up on the witness's prior testimony with the court's permission.
So the objection is sustained. You're not to ask about what you've called promiscuous sex.
Thank you, Judge. I will not do that. Ms. Brinson, in answer to a prior question, you said you did not recall being interviewed by Detective Smith.
I mean, I remember being interviewed by a detective. I don't remember his name.
Do you remember what you told him?
That she was promiscuous.
Do you remember telling Detective Smith that Chelsea liked rough sex?
Yeah, but I wouldn't say crazy or choking. She never mentioned choking.
Do you recall telling Detective Smith that she liked to be choked?
No.
Judge, I'm going to ask to show the witness a copy of a police report to see if that refreshes her memory.
Your Honor, I don't think that, I don't necessarily think that refreshing her memory, she said she didn't recall. She never indicated that if she was given a copy of a document that I would suggest she's never seen, that it would refresh her recollection in some fashion.
Reply?
Well, Judge, I can ask the witness that, if that would refresh her recollection.
First of all, police reports are not admissible into evidence. Secondly, if they're used to refresh anyone's memory, it would be the author of the report, not someone who has given a statement. So you've not had the officer on yet, so I don't know if what's in that statement is verified or not. So the objection is sustained at this point.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Judge. No further questions of this witness. I would ask for her to remain, however.
Thank you.
So that I can produce the author of the report or the prosecutor can.
Redirect.
No, Judge, thank you.
All right, so you're still potentially going to be called as a witness, so you stay wherever it is you're staying. Do not discuss your testimony with anyone or theirs with you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Finished with this witness?
Okay. Yes, Judge, it's my understanding, just for the witness's benefit, that she doesn't currently have access to her phone, but that she was supposed to work today. So would it be possible for her to touch base with your secretary so that she could call her work, or if she has children, make child care arrangements for them?
Yes, just
Okay,
just
thank you,
on
Judge.
your way out, you know where my secretary's window is?
Yes.
Tell her what you need to do.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
May I receive?
Yeah.
Your Honor, our next witness is Jessica Probable.
Jessica Probable. Come to the glass and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is true?
Yes,
Have a seat in the witness chair, please. Please recite and spell your entire name for the court reporter.
Jessica Eve Pribble, Jessica Evay, Pribyl.
Go right ahead.
Ms. Probable, I'm going to ask that you speak up just a little bit, okay? It's kind of hard to hear you from back here.
Okay.
Ms. Probable, where are you currently employed?
Olga's Kitchen,
And how long have you been employed there?
since May 17th, 2013.
Through your employment, did you come to meet someone by the name of Chelsea Brock?
Yes, ma'am.
You'll have to answer yes or no.
Yes, sorry.
Can you describe your relationship with Ms. Brock?
We were coworkers, good friends. We went out once in a while, dinner, drinks with groups of friends from work.
Are you also familiar with someone by the name of Daniel Clay?
Yes.
And how do you know this individual?
Previous relationship?
Do you have any children in common?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
How old is the child that you share together?
6.5.
Sorry, Judge, I'm having problems hearing the answers.
You'll have to keep your voice up.
He's 6.5.
Do you see Daniel Clay in the courtroom here today?
Yes.
And can you identify him?
Right there.
Okay.
The
Can you
witness, the record will reflect that the witnesses have identified the defendant by
Thank you.
pointing at.
I'm going to take you back to October 25th, 2014. Do you recall if there was anything special planned for that day?
Halloween party.
And where was that Halloween party?
At my friend Mike's.
And what's Mike's last name?
Williams, sorry.
And do you recall the approximate location of the party?
At Mike's house.
Did you attend that party?
Yes.
Who did you go with?
My boyfriend, Wayne Woolham.
What was the last name?
Woolham.
Woolham.
Woolum.
Did you have plans to meet up with any of your friends from Olga's that evening?
Yeah, we were all gonna meet up. Me, Becky, Heather, just a few of the girls, the usuals.
And when you say Becky, are you referring to Rebecca Brinson?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is Heather's last name?
Brooks.
Were you also planning on meeting up with Chelsea Rock that night?
Yes.
Do you recall the approximate time you arrived at the party?
10:30 or 11.
Do you know if Chelsea Brock was there when you arrived?
No.
At some point in time, did you make contact with Chelsea?
Yes.
And do you know approximately what time that was?
Maybe around 11:30. Not too long after we got there.
You just identified an individual in the courtroom as Daniel Clay. Did you see that individual, meaning Daniel Clay, at the party that evening as well?
Yes.
And approximately what time did you first see him?
Actually, when we first got there, right around when Laura and Chelsea had arrived, we were all standing in like a little group right on the edge of the tent, and he kind of came up and said hey to me, and like was trying to kind of get in a conversation, and then we just kind of went on with conversation, and then he went on his own way.
Okay, so just to clarify, who was in the group of individuals when Daniel Clay approached you?
Rebecca, her boyfriend Corey, me, Wayne, Laura, Chelsea, and I think he had someone with him, but I'm not sure.
And when you say he, are you referring to Daniel Clay?
Yes.
Did he have any direct communication with Chelsea?
Not that I know of at that moment.
Approximately how far apart from each other would they have been?
Within a 5-foot radius?
And you indicated that at some point he walked away. Do you know what transpired immediately prior to that? That would have right before he walked away.
Well, I just got into a new relationship, and we have a previous relationship, so I didn't want to make my date feel awkward, so I was just like, bye.
So is it fair to say you told him to leave the group?
I wouldn't say I told him to go away, but kind of just like, what do you know, kind of like, what are you doing here?
Okay. What was his demeanor when he walked away?
He was fine. He had just arrived, so I want to say he was sober. He seemed like it at the time.
Was that the last point in time in which you saw him that evening?
No.
Can you tell me approximately what time you saw him again?
I'm not sure of the time. I know that it was before 1 o'clock.
And did you have a conversation with him at that time?
Not a long conversation. He was behind one of the souvenir tents, kind of like in a little crowd, smoking marijuana out of like a little pipe. And I walked over and asked to hit it. I'm a social smoker, so and then kind of walked over, asked to hit it, and then went on my way.
Who was he with at that time?
I do not know.
And stepping back a minute, can you describe to me the length of time you spent with Chelsea at the party?
The first time, I would say we were all in the group for maybe 20 minutes, and then we all kind of went our separate ways. I want to say that the band started, so then we all kind of everybody gathered around and got separated.
And after the first time when you were in the group together, when did you next see Chelsea?
The next time I seen Chelsea was right after the fire got lit, and she had just hit her nose on a board.
And do you know approximately what time that was?
I want to say between 1 and 1:30.
And can you describe her condition after she got hit by the board, or after she ran into the board?
She was pretty upset that she had just done it. Her costume looked good, so she thought she ruined it. But I tried letting her know that it was Halloween and that no one would know that it wasn't a costume, to continue to have a good night and just act like it was paint and no one would know.
Okay. So when you made a statement about her costume looking good, did she seem concerned about the condition of her costume?
No.
And can you just briefly describe what she was wearing?
She actually made an awesome costume, homemade out of leaves, and then she had her purple wig and her jug, black leggings.
And was it your understanding all of the things you just described were part of her costume?
Yeah.
Do you recall whether or not she was wearing shoes?
I'm sure she had some type of flats on. She usually wore flats when we went out.
Do you recall what color they were?
She had on black, so maybe black. That's just a guess.
Approximately what time did you leave the party?
We ended up not leaving until after 5 a.m. Right after I seen Chelsea, I had to use the bathroom. We went out by my car to use the bathroom because there was a porta potty, but there was a huge line. So we went out by the car to use the bathroom, and I ended up starting to vomit because I was really drunk at that point. And me and Wayne ended up sitting in the car until he was sober enough to drive home the next morning.
Now, the testimony you've previously given about your contact with Chelsea during the party, do you believe that your intoxication affected your ability to recall the testimony that you just gave?
I don't think so. I've thought about it many, many times and never changed.
Do you recall having any conversations with Daniel Clay about Chelsea Bruck after the night of the party?
Nothing specific, but I know that I had to have mentioned it. I mentioned it to anyone and everyone. I was out searching, and so I had to have mentioned it. Nothing ever sparked me to think. He never gave, maybe he never replied, or...
Was there a point in time when Mr. Clay reached out to you to discuss the or to
No.
discuss Chelsea being missing?
No.
Did he ever leave you any messages, any phone voicemail?
After the day he went to jail. Or the night he went to jail, sorry, not after.
And do you recall approximately when that was?
I was at work till about 10, and it was while I was at work, so between 5 and 10 they were left on my phone. I still have the time on them, actually.
Do you recall the approximate date?
It was the same day he got arrested, in July.
In July of 2016?
Yes.
And is it fair to say that you have Mr. Clay's number stored in your phone?
His old cell phone, yes.
And was this call from his phone or from a different number?
It was from the jail.
Okay. And did he leave an actual voicemail on your phone?
Yes.
And did you recognize the voice on the voicemail?
Yes.
And whose voice did you recognize it as?
Dan's.
Okay. And when you say Dan, do you mean Daniel Clay?
Daniel, yes, ma'am.
Is there any doubt in your mind, based on the voice that you heard on the phone, that it was Daniel Clay that left you the messages?
There's no doubt. It was
And how many
definitely
messages did he leave you?
2.
In the first message, do you recall what he said?
That he's extremely sorry. Please tell his son that please tell Bryson I love him. I'm really sorry, and that he fucked up big time.
Did he indicate how he
Nope.
messed up?
Nope.
In the second message, what did he say?
The same thing over again.
Did he make any
The first time he wasn't crying. The second time first time there wasn't really much emotion in his voice, and then the second time he seemed to possibly be like crying or upset, or in the second one.
Do you recall if he made any references to whether or not he would be going to jail or prison?
Yes, that he was
Judge, I
going.
object to that. I don't think that's the least bit relative, or at least bit valuable as far as evidence goes.
Reply.
Your Honor, I suggest that it's an admission of potential guilt. If someone says, I really, quote, effed up, I'm going to prison, I would suggest that that's certainly an admission by a party opponent and certainly relevant.
I'll give it the weight it deserved. You can answer the question.
Yeah, he said he was going to be gone for a really long time.
Did he ever mention anyone's name in particular?
No.
Thank you. I have no further questions, Judge.
Cross.
Hey, Judge. Ms. Probable, during the time that you were at the party, how long were you in the presence of Ms. Brock, approximately?
The first time I would say about 20 minutes. We were in the group until we dispersed.
Okay, and then how long was it before you saw her again after that 20-minute period of time?
It was a couple hours.
Okay. During the time that you were with her, did you see her consume any type of alcohol at all?
Not in, like, when she first got there, I don't think so. And I didn't actually physically see her drink any alcohol at all.
Did you see her carrying around a large bottle of wine?
Yeah, it was like a part of her costume, so.
And, during the time you were together, you never saw her consume any of that?
No, I had no idea that it was even actually full of wine.
I see.
I thought it was purple to match her hair.
I see. And is it your testimony you didn't see her consume any type of alcoholic beverages?
With my eyes, no.
Okay. Did you see her use any type of drugs in your presence?
Never.
And I believe your testimony was you didn't see her hit the ball or the board,
No.
but did you see her after that?
Like, directly after that.
Did she appear to be upset?
Yeah, she was pretty upset that she thought her nose looked horrible. That was what she was most worried about. She thought her nose was just hideous. And it was like a line right here with, you know, some blood. And I was like, it's a part of your costume.
Did you notice any type of lump on her nose?
Not right off bat. It was kind of dark. I just seen it could have been a bump, but I just seen the scratch.
Okay, and you said that there was noticeable blood on the wound?
Yes. Like, not like dripping or anywhere, just like kind of a little bit around it.
Like a scrape?
Well, it looked like she had like hit it directly on, like a line, like kind of like a direct line.
And you're indicating the bridge of your nose?
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay. And, at that time, when you were talking to her, She did not seem intoxicated to you?
She was more upset than anything. I'm sure she may have drank. She was pretty upset about her nose. We were all drinking at the party. I'm sure she drank.
Okay. And you were fairly intoxicated at that point in the evening, would that be fair to say?
Yeah, decently.
At some point in time, you had a sexual relationship with my client,
Yes.
and as a result of that, a son was born?
Yes.
I think your testimony was that he is 6.5 now?
Yes.
That's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
Redirect.
No, Judge.
Does anyone wish for this witness to remain as potential witness?
No, thank you.
No, Your Honor.
All right, that means you're free to go, or you're welcome to stay, but you cannot discuss your testimony with anyone until this hearing's over.
Thank you.
Sixth witness.
Deputy Falver.
Come to the glass and pause at the microphone, please. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give is true?
I do.
Have a seat in the witness chair directly to my left. Please recite and spell your entire name for the court reporter.
Deputy Thomas, Thomas, Falver, Fauver.
All right, go right ahead.
Thank you. Deputy, are you employed?
Yes,
By?
Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
In what capacity?
I'm a deputy sheriff,
How long have you been with the office?
3 years.
And are you a certified police officer?
Yes, I am.
Were you working on October the 27th of 2014?
I was.
And did you receive a call to respond to a missing person?
I did.
Where did you go to commence your investigation?
The Monroe Bank and Trust on North Custer.
Why did you go there?
The complainant, Mrs. Bruck, was at work at the time, which was that branch of the Monroe Bank and Trust.
All right, and when you say Mrs. Bruck, her first name is?
Leonda.
Okay, and did you make contact with her?
Yes.
And did she describe what relation she was to this missing person?
Yes, she advised that she was the mother of the person that she was calling about missing, Chelsea Bruck.
And did you meet with her to gather information relative to her last known whereabouts and that sort of thing?
Yes.
And what information did you gather in brief?
Essentially, she had gone to a party on the previous Saturday, had left with a friend, and come Monday morning, she had gotten Chelsea's phone from a separate friend, Rebecca, I believe. But since that time, no one had seen or spoken to Chelsea since sometime at the party.
Did she describe to you some efforts that have been taken to try and locate Chelsea?
Yes. She had contacted numerous hospitals, friends, family, the Monroe County Jail, and no one had seen or heard from her at that time.
Did she advise you as to how she was dressed when she was last seen?
She advised me that she had gone in a Halloween costume, which consisted of a poison ivy outfit. Essentially, it was black yoga pants, green ivy leaves, black wig with red tips.
Black what?
Wig with
Oh.
red tips, I believe was the way she described it to me.
And did she give you any indication about the construction of that costume?
Not that I can recall at the time.
All right, and then what were your next steps?
Leonda had given me Chelsea's phone with a couple phone numbers that had been missed calls throughout the last few days. I took those phone numbers, used our quick forms report writing system to try and find out names, if we had those names in our report writing system before. And then I called those people that were missed calls to Chelsea's phone from probably about 11 or midnight on the Saturday of the party until that Monday when the phone had been returned back to Mrs. Brooke.
I don't think I asked you this. What time of the day or evening were you meeting with Mrs. Brooke?
It was in the morning, Monday morning, about 9:43 a.m.
So did you meet with any success at that point in your investigation?
I spoke with, I believe, 2 people that had actually talked to her at the party. And then 2 of the other people that I spoke with did not recall seeing her or talking to her or remember letting her use their phone to call her phone, which she did not have.
At some point in time, did you determine that additional assistance was needed?
At the time, we sent out a be on the lookout to all state, city, and county units. I sent out an email to all of the county units, put her on lien as missing, and it wasn't exactly at that time, but a few hours later, I sought assistance from Sergeant Zebek about heading to the property where she was last seen, and then the investigation was continued at that point by the Detective Bureau.
So you didn't actually go to the property then?
I did. It was not at that exact time. One of the people that I spoke with was, I believe, the homeowner, who had told me that she had not stayed the night. So at that time, I did not drive out to the Post Road address to conduct a further investigation.
All right, so is it fair to say that perhaps by mid-afternoon or so, the matter had been turned over to the Detective Bureau?
My guess of a time would probably be closer to evening on Monday, 5 or 6 o'clock, I would guess, but I don't have an exact time. Once the investigation was turned over, I other than searching, I wasn't really used in a capacity as far as reporting or documentation.
All right, thank you. What other questions?
Cross.
No questions, Your Honor, thank you.
All right, does anyone wish for this witness to remain as a potential witness?
No, thank you.
No, Judge.
You're free to go or you're welcome to stay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Detective Brian Soroka.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is true?
Yes.
Have a seat in the witness chair, please. Please recite and spell your entire name for the court reporter.
Detective Brian Soroka, B-R-I-A-N-S-R-O-K-A.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Are you employed?
Yes,
By whom?
the Monroe County Sheriff's Office,
In what capacity presently?
a detective.
And we were also a detective back in October of 2014.
Yes,
How long have you been with the department in total?
14 years.
And are you a certified police officer?
Yes,
And you've heard testimony from the previous witness that this matter was turned over to the Detective Bureau on October the 27th, 2014. Is that your recollection as well?
yes.
And were you the first detective to be involved?
I was not the first. The entire Detective Bureau was activated, and when I arrived on scene, I believe Sergeant Pauly and at least 1 or 2 other detectives were there.
Okay. Did it later evolve that you became the lead detective in the case?
Yes.
So, once you got involved on October the 27th, you informed the court the initial steps that you took to attempt to locate her.
We put out a press release with requests for information, put that out to the media. We began conducting interviews of family members and other known people from the party.
And can you describe, fairly briefly, the extent, the breadth and depth, I guess, so to speak, of the investigation into Chelsea Brooks' disappearance?
Like I said, we use the media to request information to the public. We requested everybody that attended the party or had any information to contact us. So we had a phone number that people called tips into. Whenever a citizen would call or somebody with some information, we'd open a tip and it would be assigned to an investigator to investigate that. So.
How many police agencies were involved in the investigation?
I'd have to refer to my report for the exact number, but it was roughly 70.
When would you say was the first break in the case?
The first break came on when I came into work on March 23rd of 2015. I had learned that a shoe had been recovered the previous day on March 22nd, 2015 on War Road.
And how did that come about?
We had been notified that a shoe was recovered, and it wasn't the first time an item had been recovered. Typically, we had a lot of people calling in, found shoes, other articles of clothing, etc., and we'd investigate to see if it was Chelsea's. Well, on that morning, as I typically did, I contacted Chelsea's mom, Leanda, and I emailed her a photograph of the shoe to see if she could identify it, if by chance it was Chelsea's.
Can you describe the shoe for the court, please?
It was a right-footed shoe. It was a red American Eagle brand, size 8.5.
Did Mrs. Bruck ultimately identify that shoe as belonging to Chelsea?
She did. Immediately after seeing the photo, she told me that it was Chelsea's shoe.
And who was not necessarily by name, but I mean, how did this tip come to the attention of the North Carolina Sheriff's Office?
The resident at, I believe it was 7066 War Road, had called in. She was doing some yard work, some spring cleaning, and she had found this shoe near her residence along the ditch.
Where is this residence, where the shoe was located, in relation to the party at Post and Williams Road?
It is approximately 2.3 miles west and a little bit north.
Did you respond to the scene?
Not on the 22nd of March. It was the next day. The Detective Bureau went out there to investigate further.
And I take it you searched the area?
Yes.
Did you find any other evidence of any interest?
No, sir. No other evidence.
And just briefly describe this location for the court.
The location, like I said, is on War Road. It is just north of Post Road. So from the venue of the party, it would be west down Post Road and north on War Road. And the residence is located, like I said, north of Post Road on War on the east side.
And where was the shoe found specifically?
The shoe was located north of the house on the northern end of the property, just east of the roadway. You have a ditch, and then you have a little area where some woods begin. It was right at the edge of the woods.
Okay, so from the edge of the road, is there a shoulder there?
Yes.
Gravel or hay, do you recall?
I don't recall.
All right. So from the edge of the shoulder, the outside edge of the shoulder to that wooded area, how far would you say that is?
I'd say at least 15 feet.
And is that grass covered?
Yes, it's grass.
And if you happen to recall the specific number, that's great. Otherwise, you have a rough estimate on the number of tips that you followed up on through March of 2015.
I can refer to my report for the exact number, but I believe the shoe is tip number 623.
And had you and the other investigators been busy following up on all of those leads?
Yes, nonstop.
All right. So, with that, I would have no other questions at this time of Detective Soroka, but I would ask that, certainly after cross-examination, that that's what do it. I'm going to have him come back and I'll call another witness. I think it makes more sense to do it in that order.
Cross now?
Judge, if he's going to put him back on the stand, I'd prefer to wait until the other witness testifies and then cross-examine them all at once, if that pleases the court.
We all agree to proceed that way?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so then we'll call John Markham.
Sir, come to the glass and pause at the microphone, and please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is true?
Yes.
Have a seat in the witness chair to my left, please. Please state and spell your entire name for the court reporter.
John Henry Marcon, John Henry Marcon.
All right, go right ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Marcon, were you the owner or at least co-owner of some property on Briar Hill Road in Ash Township back in October of 2014?
Yes.
And would you please describe for the court where that's located?
It's on the west side of Briar Hill, in between Carlson Rockwood and Newburgh.
And back in October of 2014, did it have an address?
Not that I'm aware of. I can't remember.
Right. Describe the property, please.
It's wooded property. It's next to the railroad tracks.
How many acres did you own, or do you own?
Approximately 13.
What was the purpose of purchasing the property?
To build a home.
And had by October by April of 2015, had you made some improvement to the property?
Yes.
So what had you done at that point?
By then, I believe we installed a road to access the property.
Is that off of Briar Hill?
Yeah, off of Briar Hill, Stone Road, yeah. We had put an access road in for, to access when we started building on the site.
And then in addition to the road, any other improvements?
That was pretty much it, just clearing the trees out for it, and that was pretty much it at that time.
Any fencing?
At that time, no.
Right. At some point, was there a fence put at the head of the road?
There was a gate at the, there was 2 posts and a cable gate put up, but that was all at that time.
All right. And at that point in time, by April of 2015, had you ever noticed any damage to that gate?
No, not that I'm aware of. No, nothing was damaged at that gate at that time.
All right. And you described it as wooded. Is that fair to say?
Oh yes, it's wooded property.
All right. And is it does it abut the tracks?
Yes.
Is that Canadian National, if you know?
It's CN. I believe it is CN. Yes.
Okay. So back on April the 24th, during the day, do you recall if you were at the property?
Yes, I was.
And were you alone or with others?
With others.
And what were you doing there?
We were placing fill.
Fill dirt?
Yeah, we were placing fill dirt. What we were trying to do is fill some of the low spots in that were out there because the property's slightly rolling. It's got dips here and there in it, so we were just filling some of them in.
And who was with you?
Myself, I believe my brother was there, and then there was 2 truck drivers and another employee of mine.
What vehicles were there?
We had a semi there, and then there was some construction equipment as well.
What was the semi for?
In placing dirt. He was backing in and out and dumping dirt.
Okay, and the construction equipment was?
A dozer. I believe it was a dozer, and I can't remember what else was there at the time. But I know there was a dozer there. Obviously, that's what we were pushing the dirt down with that pre-dumped out.
All right. Did you brought the fill in the semi then?
Yes.
And the idea was to put the fill around various low spots in the property?
That's all we were doing, yeah, placing it, exactly.
And did you enter the property via that driveway that you had built?
The one that I installed, yes.
And the driveway, as it comes off of Briar Hill, does it run along the tracks?
Yeah, it runs parallel to the tracks, and then there's a service road for the railroad tracks as well.
And at some point, does the driveway then turn away from the railroad track?
Yes.
All right. At that bend, is that more or less a 90-degree bend in a road?
It's probably it's more of a, I mean, it turns into a 90, like 45, and yeah, basically it turns into a 90-degree bend.
It curves into the property?
Yes.
And was that the idea that that's where you were going to build?
Well, that was just a service area for the barn, and then the house would go up in front of that, but that was a general location, so you had a service drive for the barn, yes.
Now, during the process of adding this fill to the property, were you in the vicinity of where the driveway turned towards the interior of the property?
Yes.
Were all, I think you described 5 people, is that right? Your brother?
Yeah, my brother, I had an employee, I think there was 2 truck drivers going in and out at the time.
Okay, so maybe 5, maybe 6 people?
I mean, yeah, it's been a while, but I mean, I can't remember exactly, but yeah.
All right. What was your role in this process?
I was just dozing down, I was pushing down the dirt as they were bringing it in.
You were operating the bulldozer then?
Yeah.
And at some point, did something, Murphy's Law kick in and something happened to one of the vehicles?
Yeah, one of the semis, as they were backing up, actually we were going back further and further, pushing dirt towards, towards the tracks, and then one of the trucks got stuck.
Okay. Now, let me just back up for a second. Prior to that point, had there been any work done in that general vicinity?
No.
Okay. Was there any drains or other improvements put in place?
There was one drain put in, but that's done. That was one of the first things that was done before any of the dirt was placed.
Okay. So the drain, was it above ground or below ground?
Below ground.
All right. And did it run from somewhere in the interior of the property?
Yeah, what it was is there was like an old drain tile. We just replaced it and put a new one out to the ditch, just to help the water come out of that area because it was low.
So the pipe ran underground toward the ditch?
Yep.
And did it empty then into the ditch by the tracks?
Correct.
Okay. Prior, or in the process, perhaps would be a better way of saying it, of installing that new drain pipe, did you have to excavate or remove any of the trees or brush that was there?
Yeah, that happened like originally though. It was quite a while before all that. I might have been I want to say that was in March the previous year or something when we purchased it, somewhere in there.
Okay, so since March of, would it be 2014, is that when you purchased the property?
I can't remember if it's 13 or 14. I think it might have been 13, I believe. I'm not 100% sure.
Since around that time?
Around that time, because what happened is that drain got put in first, and then the road went in after that.
Okay.
So that had already you'd never know, you know what I mean? That'd have been almost a year later.
Right. Except, would you know by the fact that there weren't any trees above that pipe?
Yeah, just grass growing back above it now.
Right.
After that, at that point.
Is it fair to say then that that was a bit of almost like a pathway to the tracks in that utility road that you mentioned?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. From the utility road. Yeah. From that drain pipe, it kind of runs parallel as that road curves around. So yeah.
Okay. So now, I'm sorry. Let's get back to April the 24th, and you're backing. One of the
drivers
backing the semi up,
yeah.
and it got stuck.
Correct.
So what did you do?
Well, that was the first one of the day that actually got stuck. I don't recall anything else getting stuck. He was backing up, and as the clay was going down, he started sinking and got stuck. And he was trying to lift his... Go ahead.
Sorry, let me just interrupt you a second. Was it particularly wet back there?
Well, at the time, it was spring, so it was a little bit damp, so we were building up so we could get back a little further on top of it.
Is the area flat, or is it, are there indentations?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was mildly rolling. You had low spots and depressions that were holding water.
Right, and it was your intent to get rid of those?
Well, that's what we were trying to do, yeah. So but we had to blade a road to get the truck back.
Okay. So, what did you do then when the truck got stuck?
Well, he lifted up the box, and it was like, I do remember this, it was up against a tree, so he had to let it down, and then I told him, let me go around back. I was on the phone at the time with my wife, and I walked around the back of the truck to see if I could get the dozer in there to push him out, and as I was walking over there, that's when I found the deceased.
What was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was, I seen a tree
on top. And my initial reaction was I thought right off my mind that someone was in here trespassing and a tree fell on them. So I told my wife, I just found somebody. I gotta let you go. I gotta call the police.
Is that what you did?
Instantly, yeah.
Up to that point in time, had you heard about the disappearance of Chelsea Bruck?
That's the funny part. I mean, I don't pay attention. No.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
After you called the police, did one or more members of law enforcement arrive on scene?
Yeah. Yes, the detectives.
After you saw the individual there, did you touch the person in any way, shape, or form?
No.
How close would you say you ever got?
Maybe within like 8 to 10 feet, maybe at the most.
What about any of the other people that were present at the time? Did
No.
they go anywhere near the body?
No.
Now, let's fast forward a little bit. To September the 2nd, 2015. Apparently you were still doing some excavating. Did you discover something else that you thought was noteworthy?
There was like some, where I was telling those the little dirt hills were here and there. Some of them I was blading off, and what I was doing was cleaning up around the trees.
Just to clarify that blading off, you mean what?
Taking dozers, just blading off the top of the hills, leveling the dirt off that was already existing.
All right. And you saw what?
Well, when I was going around a tree, I was watching the edge of the dozer blades, so it doesn't tear the side of the tree up. And as I was looking off to my left, I noticed a red shoe.
Did you stop?
Yes.
Did you immediately connect the dots that it might be related to the Chelsea Bruck case?
Yes.
All right. And did you contact police?
Yeah, I called the sheriff.
Did they respond?
Oh, yes. I believe Officer Kemp was the one that came out right away.
And where you found the shoe, is that closer to the driveway than where you discovered the body?
Yes.
How far off of the driveway would you say you found that shoe?
Maybe 15, 20 yards.
Great, thank you. 1 second. I think you know it.
Cross?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
No cross. Does anyone wish for Mr. Mark Hahn to remain as a witness?
No, thank you.
No, Judge.
You're free to go or you're
Thank
welcome.
you, Have a good day.
Thanks. Ninth witness?
I would recall that.
You're still under oath. You don't need to be sworn. All right, go right ahead.
Thank you. Now, in an effort to try and do this chronologically, I see I've already made a mistake on that. Prior to April 24th, when Mr. Markin discovered the body, had there been any other leads that proved fruitful for you?
On April 5th of 2015, we received a call from Eric Kassab, who had found a possible evidence on Peters Road in Flat Rock, Michigan.
All right. Did you respond to that scene?
Yes.
All right. And describe the scene for the court, please.
The scene is it's a vacant property. It's got 3 buildings on it. We were informed it used to be a place called Specialty Petroleum, and there's 3 different buildings, and the southernmost building is where the evidence was at. It's block. Some of it has a roof, some of it doesn't. It's pretty much just a block walls and debris on the floors in there. It's been vacant for years.
What did you find inside the building?
Inside the building was a green leafy costume and a red or maroon colored wig.
And did you believe that those were, in fact, the wig and costume being worn by Chelsea?
Yes, immediately we believe so.
What did you do with the wig and the costume?
We had sought the assistance of Detective Sergeant Peterson from the State Police because it was in Wayne County. So he came out and we conducted a search warrant in conjunction with him, and that evidence was collected.
And was it ultimately delivered to the Michigan State Police Crime Laboratory for analysis?
Yes, correct.
Now let's go to the 24th of April of 2015. Were you involved, did you respond to the Briar Hill location?
Yes, sir.
All right. And were you amongst the first to arrive?
Yes, I'd been in the office right across the street here when Captain Orlano had come in and told me that dispatch had received a call from a citizen up there about a possible body that had been found. So I immediately got in my car and arrived on scene there. I was the first police officer on scene.
All right. And I know Mr. Martin has described the scene, but if you would just, from your perspective, describe what you found with, or what you saw when you first arrived on scene.
When I first got there, I was flagged down by somebody at the driveway. There's no address there. It's just like a gravel and dirt driveway. So I pulled down there. The driveway ran west off of Briar Hill Road, just north of the railroad tracks there. So I was directed to where the body was. Immediately when I got there, I parked my car, got out, and observed the body. So at that time, Chief Deputy Veliquette arrived on scene, as did the rest of the detective bureau.
As far as you know, had anyone else been near the body? That is to say, you know, with making contact with the body.
No.
May I approach?
Yes.
The witness, really. Anything that's been marked for identification as people's proposed exhibit number 1. If you would take a look at that for a second.
Okay.
Do you recognize what's shown in that photograph?
Yes.
And please describe what it is for the court.
This is a view from the west side of the body looking east, and it consists mostly of skeletal human remains, a little bit of flesh on the body and the lower extremities and the chest area. There's a log across the chest area and several other logs around the body.
And just dealing with those branches for a moment, there appear to be one actually, I guess 2 touching the body, is that right?
Correct.
One underneath, and then one across the top.
And there's also a small one across the lower legs,
Oh,
the
right.
angle there.
Yeah, all right. With respect to the one across her upper torso, did you have a recollection of the size and weight of that?
We measured it. I would have to refer to my report for the exact dimensions of that, but I do recall the approximate weight. We didn't have a scale available at the scene there, so just kind of we weighed it based on what we believed, and I approximated about 125 to 150 pounds.
So if does this photograph fairly and accurately reflect the immediate area around the body when you arrived on scene?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'd look for admission of people as 1.
Any objection?
No, Judge.
Admitted.
Was the crime lab called to the scene as well?
Yes, we sought the assistance of the Michigan State Police Crime Lab, and two personnel from their division came out and assisted us.
You were on scene for quite a while.
Yes, several hours.
any other evidence located at the scene?
There were several other evidence items that the Michigan State Police Crime Lab collected, and they had also located, so yes.
All right. Well, was the body clothed when you found it?
There was no clothing in the vicinity of the body.
Was any, and you already had the benefit of the knowledge of this poison ivy costume, is that right?
Yes.
And as far as you know, were any portions of that costume recovered from the scene or the immediate vicinity around the scene?
There was a single green, I guess you'd say plastic ivy leaf that was recovered by the State Police Crime Lab. It was, the body was in a wooded area. The leaf was found to the south, pretty much along the railroad property, south of a ditch there.
Mr. Markin had described that there was a utility path, vehicle path along the tracks. Is that your recollection?
Correct, yes.
And was the leaf found on the tracks or on the utility road? Or
It was between the utility road and the ditch.
Okay.
So I believe it would have been railroad property.
So tracks on one side, then the utility road, and then the ditch?
Correct.
And your thought was it was recovered by the ditch?
Yes.
Now, did you eventually locate any other portions of the costume?
I believe it was on September 2nd, as Mr. Mark kind of talked about. There were some tights and a shoe that had been recovered from that property as well.
Now, he testified to seeing a shoe as he was operating a bulldozer. Did you respond to the scene?
I did not respond to the scene. I was actually off that day. I do know Detective Smith and Cooper did. However, I've seen photographs and so forth of it.
Right, so in addition to the shoe, what else was recovered?
There were some tights that were green in color that were found next to the shoe, near the shoe.
Were both of those items believed to be a part of Chelsea's costume?
Yes, particularly the shoe. It matched, appeared the same as the one that had been found on War Road. The shoe on Briar Hill was a left shoe, where the one on War Road was a right shoe. Same brand, size, color, style, everything.
All right. Did you eventually tender those items to the Michigan State Police Crime Lab for analysis?
Yes.
By this time, which would be September of 2015, any recollection of the number of tips that you had?
I'd have to refer to my report for that.
When did the next, well, I take it the investigation was ongoing.
Yes, correct.
And were great efforts being exerted to attempt to now locate, since Chelsea had been found, to now locate the perpetrator of the crime?
Absolutely. It was still an active case. We worked on it every day, so it had been ongoing.
When's the next big break come in the case?
The next big break came on July 21st, 2016. I again was off work that day, and I received a phone call from the Michigan State Police Crime Lab regarding a CODIS DNA hit.
And what is CODIS?
Combined, it's a DNA data bank which stores profiles from offenders.
Right. And what does a hit mean?
A hit means a match. We had been notified prior to that there was a sample obtained from the green leafy leotard of an unknown male. It had been entered into CODIS initially, and there was no match. So the lab had told us that it was a good enough sample where if somebody had been arrested, had a sample taken, or they willingly provided a DNA sample, it would match. So we had nothing at that point. However, on the 21st of July, we were notified that a sample had been entered and matched that.
And did the lab indicate the name of the person whose DNA matched?
Yes, they notified me that it was Daniel Clay.
So what steps did you then take?
Immediately, the Detective Bureau, we began doing background investigation on Mr. Clay. His name had not come up yet at that point in the investigation, so we began digging into his past, who he is, where he lives, and so forth.
Did you attempt to locate him?
Yes, we received a possible address where he was residing at on Henry Street, I believe it was in Frenchtown Villa. So it was the next day on July 22nd, 2016, that we actually sat up on the house, did some surveillance in an attempt to locate him.
During the surveillance of the house, did you confirm that Daniel Clay was present inside?
Yes, we watched the house for several hours, and he was observed on at least one occasion coming out the front door, smoking a cigarette, and then going back inside. So he had 2 warrants for his arrest at that point also for a friend of court. So, like I said, we sat on the house and waited for the right time to make contact.
How many officers were sitting on the house, so to speak?
There were probably at least a dozen. We were looking at the house in unmarked cars from different angles, and we had some marked units in the area for when contact was attempted. So about 12.
Do you recall approximately what time on the 22nd you attempted to make contact there?
I believe it was around 2:15 or so, 2:15, 2:30 p.m. that contact was attempted.
What was the plan?
Well, we were waiting on a search warrant possibly for the residence. However, we ended up having 2 deputies go into the door and knocking to just try to make contact first.
What sort of residence? In other words, describe the residence.
It was a mobile home, and it kind of sat on the corner with the front door facing west. So
Only one door?
there was a front door on the west, and then a back door on the east. And like I said, we had officers looking at every possible side door, etc.
Right. Did eventually the officers then attempt to make contact by approaching the house?
They knocked for ongoing for several minutes, and eventually a subject flew out the back door and was taken into custody. And he was identified as...
You mean Daniel Clay?
Yes, he was identified as Daniel Clay.
Did you see Daniel Clay present in court today?
Yes.
Could you please point to it?
Sitting to my right with the striped shirt and the bald head.
Thank you, Your Honor. Is the court satisfied the witness identified the defendant?
I am. The record will reflect that witness positively identified the defendant.
Thank you. So what happened next?
At that point, he was taken to the jail. Like I said, he had 2 warrants for his arrest, and once we all came back to the office and assembled, we brought him up to the Detective Bureau for questioning regarding the Chelsea Brook case.
Who was present at the time?
Detective Predmore and myself.
And was this in the Detective Bureau in the Monroe County Sheriff's Office?
Yes.
Right. Was the incident recorded?
Yes.
And prior to commencing your conversation with the defendant, was he given his Miranda rights?
Yes, he was.
And did he waive his rights and agree to speak with you?
Yes.
So how did the discussion begin then?
We began talking about the large Halloween party in which Chelsea disappeared from, and he was questioned if he had attended that party. Which he initially stated that he had gone by himself around 8 or 9 p.m. that night, and stayed for about 2 hours and left around 10 or 11 p.m. He initially denied seeing Chelsea, having any contact with Chelsea, knowing who she was, or having any involvement.
Is it fair to say that his statement evolved throughout the course of the conversation?
Yes.
What was the total length of conversation?
I believe it was at least 2 hours.
At some point then, did he at least admit that he had contact with Chelsea Brook at the party?
Yes.
And how did that disclosure come?
Detective Predmore had eventually brought up the fact about the DNA match, and then he was questioned on that. Mr. Clay had stated that he had sexual relations with a female at the party, which he believed may have been Chelsea. He wasn't positive, but he thought that maybe that was Chelsea Brook, and he left it at that point.
Did he, at that point in time, did he agree that he had left the party with her?
He had stated they left alone at that time.
At some point later then, did he, in this evolving statement, did he indicate that he was, that he had left the party more or less with Chelsea Brook?
He had stated that when he leaving the party, he pulled out of the driveway, headed west on Post Road, and not far down the road, he said he came across a female walking, who he believed was Chelsea Brook, had a green leafy costume. However, she was holding her wig, and he pulled up next to her, asked if she wanted a ride. She said that she did, and she got into the vehicle.
Where did he say that it went?
He stated that they drove down the road for a little bit and they proceeded to have sexual relations there. We tried to clarify the area. We had notified him that the shoe had been located not far from there in the area of War Road and Post Road, and he said that kind of fit the general area of where they had pulled off to the road to have some relations.
Did he eventually go further in his statement to you?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He had stated initially after, when driving away, they pulled over to the side of the road to have sexual relations. Upon pulling the vehicle to the side of the road, he got out of the driver's seat, Chelsea got out of the front passenger seat. Chelsea had stepped over to the, almost along the wood line there on War Road and to urinate. And at that point, they both got into the back seat of the vehicle where they proceeded to have sexual relations.
And what did he tell you happened during that incident?
He had stated at that point that her clothing was removed and that he at first was on top when they began to have sex. However, or that she was on top first, excuse me. She was on top first and they began to have sex. However, she said that she wanted it rougher and harder, so she laid down. At that point, Daniel Clay got on top and they proceeded to have more sex.
Did he admit to choking Chelsea?
Yes, he had stated that she had asked him to choke her during the act, and that he put his hand or hands on her neck for approximately 20 to 30 seconds. And at that point, he began to move positions a little bit and noticed that she was not moving. At that point, he checked her. She didn't appear to be breathing. He said that he even held a little mirror up to her mouth and nose to see if there was any, any exhaling, and there was none. At that point, he realized that she was not breathing.
What did he claim to have done then?
He claimed that he had attempted CPR on her. However, he said that he had freaked out. He didn't call the police because he was kind of scared and freaking out, so he began to drive around.
Did he indicate how long he drove around?
I'd have to refer to the report for that.
Is that because you don't recall?
I don't recall exactly
And
what
if
he
you
said.
had an opportunity to review your report, would that refresh your recollection, do you believe?
Yes, if it's documented in there.
All right, I'd just ask you to do that.
Okay.
I have no objection.
He had stated he began driving around for probably about 30 to 45 minutes afterwards.
Well, let's just go back a couple of quick points with respect to where Mr. Larkin's property is. I think he testified to where it was located, but do you recall what township it's in?
That is in Ash Township.
And is that located in Monroe County, County Monroe, State of Michigan?
Yes. It's approximately 7 miles from where the party is at.
Okay. And then also, with respect to the choking, did the defendant indicate that he used any device or instrument?
No, he denied it.
Okay. So the choking was barehanded only,
Yes.
according to him?
Yes.
So, after driving around for, did you say 30 to 45?
Yes, that's what he told me.
30 to 45 minutes, then what did he claim to have done?
He says that he came across a spot. He didn't necessarily remember the road name, but it would have been the area Briar Hill Road was. He stated that he previously used to drive around that area, so he was somewhat familiar with it. So he said he just happened to park, and at that point, he had first stated that he pulled down the service drive running west off of Briar Hill Road along the railroad tracks there, where he parked the vehicle and removed her from the vehicle. He later stated that he actually parked on during a second interview, he said he parked on the east side of Briar Hill Road, south of the tracks. It's kind of kitty corner to the property there, and he removed her and then walked her over the property.
In any event, did he indicate what he did with Chelsea?
He stated that he carried her and he began walking along the tracks and into the wooded area, and he eventually came to a point where he couldn't carry her anymore. He was getting tired from carrying her, and he placed her down on the ground at that point. He stated that initially he covered her with several sticks and logs in an attempt to kind of conceal her.
And then did he indicate that he moved her to a second spot?
He stated that the first time he wasn't satisfied with it. It was kind of too out in the open, so he said that he again picked her up and moved her a little bit further into the woods, and that was the final resting place there.
And you heard Mr. Markin's description of his property. Did you take actual measurements of that entire scene?
We
Or
had...
were measurements taken?
There were measurements taken, yes.
And from the spot where Chelsea's body was found, do you know how far that is off of Mr. Markin's driveway, that access road?
We'd have to refer to the measurements for that.
Okay.
I believe I estimated approximately 50 feet, I believe.
All right. And then when I asked Mr. Markin about the location of the shoe, I think he talked in terms of yards. Was there a measurement taken of the shoe location as well that he found along with the leotard?
I'm not positive on that. Like I said, I wasn't working that day that the second shoe and the tights were found, so I don't know if our traffic services came out to measure with the device again or not.
Okay.
I'm not positive on that.
So, at some point in time, I take it the interview was concluded with him.
Yes.
The defendant, is that correct?
Yes.
And had you and Detective Credmore previously agreed to allow Mr. Clay to have a telephone so he could make some telephone calls?
Yes, he had been wanting to use the phone, so we grabbed a cordless department phone and handed it over to him. And he made several attempts to call people, and several of those calls were connected, I believe.
And did you provide him with the telephone numbers that he had asked for?
I believe Detective Predmore did.
All right. But between the two of you, somehow you got numbers to Mr. Clay so that he could make the calls he wanted?
Yes.
And where was he when he made those calls?
He was in the interview room still at that point.
I guess it's fair to say that there have actually been a number of telephone calls since then. Is that fair?
Yes.
And really, what I want to focus on now is the calls that were made immediately after you concluded your interview with him. Those were made inside the interview room?
Yes, correct.
And were either you or Detective Predmore or anybody else, for that matter, in there?
Detective Predmore was present, I believe, for a little bit. However, he eventually came out, and there was nobody in the room with him for several calls.
Okay. Had you and Detective Predmore been coming and going throughout the course of that entire interview?
Yes.
Partly to provide the defendant with things he had asked for, I take it?
Yes.
Such as a cigarette and a lighter?
Correct.
Or actually multiple cigarettes, I think, was it?
Yes.
And something to drink?
Yes.
All right. And have you also been going in and out for your own benefit to confer with your colleagues outside
Correct.
the interview room?
Correct.
Right. So then, with the telephone that you provided and the telephone numbers that the defendant had asked for, did he make some telephone calls?
He did.
And did you indicate anything during those telephone calls regarding Chelsea and how she died?
I don't remember the exact content of every single phone call, but I do know he made several, and he began talking about that he was at the jail for what happened to Chelsea Brock, and he told people he was sorry and he'd be going away for a while.
One second, Judge. Now, prior to Mr. Markin alerting law enforcement regarding his discovery of Chelsea Brook, had there been any other tips or indication from any other source regarding her location?
No.
More specifically, did the defendant make any effort during the time from October the 25th, 2014 until April the 24th of 2015 to alert law enforcement or frankly anyone else in a position of authority as to the location of Chelsea Brock?
No.
And just with respect to the way that she was found, you indicated in the photograph that there are some branches and that sort of thing across her.
Yes.
Were there any other natural vegetation or anything like that covering her?
Well, she was kind of down in a depression in the ground. That area, as Mr. Mark kind of said, it was kind of unlevel. There were a couple crater-type areas. And that area went down about 1.5 feet. And when we pulled the log off of her chest, we noticed that there were some leaves that were kind of stuck between the body and the log. And there were also some leaves in the dirt around there. So we believe that she was covered with leaves at one point.
All right, thank you. No other questions?
Cross?
Yes, Judge, thank you. Detective, during the interview of Mr. Clay, you said that you and I believe Detective Predmore were in charge of the custodial interrogation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you've also testified, I believe, that one of you at certain points would leave the room,
Yes.
and then another would leave the room.
Yes.
So you weren't with him the entire time, the two of you.
I was not. I think it was mostly myself leaving the room. Detective Predmore was the main interviewer, so I think it was myself stepping out. He may have stepped out once or twice, but somebody was with him pretty much the entire time.
And you said Detective Predmore was the main interviewer?
Yes.
And did you ask questions as well?
Yes.
What time of day or night did the interrogation commence, if you recall?
I'd have to refer to the Miranda form for that.
Could you tell me, for instance, if it was during the morning or the afternoon? Or
Late afternoon, early evening. I'd estimate roughly 4 or 5 p.m.
And how long had Mr. Clay been in custody before the interrogation began, if you know?
I know he was arrested at 2:55 p.m.
And did you personally arrest him?
No.
Who did?
I believe Deputy Peters was the one that handcuffed him.
Okay. But you were on the scene?
Yes, I was down the road doing some surveillance.
I see. And you testified previously that there were about 12 police officers that were involved in this situation?
Correct.
And your part of that was to conduct surveillance and to coordinate?
Yes, being I was in an unmarked car, I kind of parked down the road watching the residents.
Okay. And when you interviewed Mr. Clay, did he seem to be okay to you as far as mental state?
Yes, he didn't appear to be under the influence of anything at that time.
So you didn't sense that he was under the influence of alcohol or any drugs?
No, sir.
How was his emotional state? Did he appear to be clear and concise, or was he confused?
Everything appeared clear. He didn't appear to be confused at any points.
Did you read him his Miranda rights?
I believe it was Detective Predmore.
Were you in the room when the Miranda rights were read to him?
I believe so. I'm not positive on that. I was either watching it on the television monitor or it was in the room. I don't recall for sure. But
Was that portion of the interview recorded on a DVD?
yes, sir.
So you didn't actually give him the rights, Detective Predmore did?
Yes.
Do you recall whether they were read to him orally?
Yes.
And did you witness him signing it?
Like I said, I don't recall if I was in the room or watching it on the television monitor, but I do remember him signing the form.
Now, At any time during the questioning, do you recall Mr. Clay asking for an attorney?
He did bring up the word attorney on one or two occasions.
Did he ask to consult with an attorney?
He never specifically said that he wanted an attorney. He had mentioned one time that he was thinking about asking an attorney about his rights.
Were you in the room when that occurred?
I know on one of the occasions I was. I had left the room several times. I don't know during the first time if I was in the room or not.
So there were several occasions when an attorney was requested?
I think 2 times.
Objection, that's a mischaracterization of this, of the detective's statement. He never said that an attorney was requested.
The objection is that the question assumes in fact not in evidence.
I'll rephrase, Judge.
Sustained.
Let me ask you this question another way. How many times did Mr. Clay bring up consulting an attorney, if you recall?
I believe he mentioned an attorney on 2 separate occasions.
Were you in the room on both of those separate occasions?
On at least one of them. I believe that on another one I may have been coming in the room at that point.
And did he ask for questioning to cease so he could consult with an attorney?
He never asked for question to stop.
Did he ask to consult with an attorney?
He said he was thinking about asking an attorney about what his rights were. And I know at that time Detective Predmore said if he wanted to talk to an attorney that he'd have to stop questioning and he wouldn't be able to ask any further questions.
Were you in the room when Detective Predmore answered his question about attorneys?
Like I said, I don't recall if I was in the room or watching on the monitor, but I was observing the interview. I know that.
Mm-hmm. So to the best of your recollection, he asked to consult with an attorney, correct?
Again,
I'm just trying to clarify, Judge, if it gets down to the nitty-gritty, we can play the tape. I'm not trying to abuse it, I'm just trying to be clear.
Right, but, I mean, and that's fine, I understand it, but the detective never said that the defendant requested an attorney.
I agree, I heard it. So
Well,
the question again assumes the fact not in evidence.
Well, let me
So if
just-
I'm wrong and the prosecutor's wrong, you've got an issue when you go to circuit court, if you go to circuit court.
Well, thank you, Judge. I'm going to try to clarify it just so I understand. Okay?
Well, I'll give you one more shot because you've done it 3 times.
This is sort of important, Your Honor. I'd ask for a little flexibility. I'm not
Okay.
trying to abuse it.
Go ahead.
Detective, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth.
Sure.
To the best of your recollection, tell me what Mr. Clay said about an attorney.
Like I said, I recall him saying that he was thinking that he may want to talk to one regarding what his rights were.
Did you tell him that one couldn't be provided because of the time?
I remember Detective Predmore having a conversation with Mr. Clay regarding that.
Did you recall what Detective Predmore said to the defendant?
Or it would be hearsay.
I think Mr. Detective Predmore is on the witness list, Judge. If Mr. Rohrig wants to interpose that objection, we can do it the other way.
That's what he just did.
It's an investigation, Judge. I've given Mr. Rohrig a lot of latitude about the detective testifying to things that other people have done. Mr. Rohrig wants to object to this even though the detective...
He is. What's your response to the objection? I don't...
Fine. If you want to grant it, that's fine.
Well, that's my job, and
It
the
is.
objection is sustained.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Detective, you don't know anything about DNA, is that correct?
I don't know how it works at the crime lab. I know how to collect the DNA sample and so forth, but the crime lab does all the testing on that.
Did you, in fact, obtain the DNA sample that went to the lab off of the tights?
We did not collect any DNA. We just sent the items up there to be analyzed. We never swabbed any of the evidence. The crime lab did all that.
Okay. So, do you recall who obtained the swabbed evidence?
As far as who swabbed the evidence, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
That would have been the State Police Crime Lab.
And
I don't
you
know-
don't
I
have
don't
any
know-
knowledge of the chain of custody of the swab where it went after it was obtained? Who had it?
I wouldn't know that.
Okay. And when you testified that the DNA matched, that was something that you saw on a piece of paper from somewhere else, correct?
Yes, like I said, I was contacted first by phone and notified, and then they also sent a laboratory report with that documented on there.
Okay. As far as the science behind the DNA match and what CODIS is, you're not a laboratory scientist.
Correct. I'm not. I don't know how that works, sir.
There were quite a number of detectives that did field work on this case. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
Did you assign this field work to them as being the detective in charge, or how did that work?
Can you clarify that question for me?
How were the detectives assigned to do work on this file? Were you in charge of assigning them?
As far as the tips we investigate on this investigation,
Mhm.
Sergeant Pauly supervised, and he would issue tips to each investigator.
Okay, so he was in charge of handing out the assignments
Correct.
and what to follow up?
Yes.
And you were in charge of reviewing the various reports, keeping track of the investigation, would that be correct?
I kind of kept track of the investigation, especially when the detectives got busy on other cases. I kind of stuck with this one, and I didn't necessarily review everything. I was active in investigating the tips as well.
I see. Now, at some point in time, as a result of your investigation, did you compile a timeline of the party itself?
Yes.
And was that timeline prepared by you after reviewing all of the reports on the tips, all the interviews of the witnesses of the party, and all of those investigative things?
Yes, sir.
Based on your investigation, when was the last time that anybody saw Ms. Bruck?
Can I refer to my report for that?
It's all right with me if it's all right with the prosecutor report. I asked if you'd be allowed to so do.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right ahead, no objection.
The last sighting that was reported to us was around 3 o'clock or 3:15 a.m. on October 26, 2014.
And that was at the site of this Halloween party, is that correct?
Yes.
As a result of your investigation, can you tell me, was there a wine bottle ever recovered in evidence?
Yes, there was.
And could you describe that to the court? What the wine bottle was all about, how large it was, how full it was, if you know?
Again, can I refer my report to that?
Unless
Okay.
there's an objection.
Go right ahead. Okay.
I do know that I handled that tip with the wine bottle personally.
Where was it recovered, if you know, Detective?
It was recovered by Rachel Prather and Ambrose Campbell. They were a couple, and they had recovered, I believe it was in between the bonfire and the tent
I see.
on the night of the party. And it's labeled item number 10 for evidence purposes, and it was a 3-liter bottle of Livingston Red Rose wine.
And how full was it when recovered?
I'd have to further report again for that.
Can we agree that he may refer to his report unless otherwise objected to?
Yes.
That
All
would
right.
work for me, Judge.
Thank
Maybe
you,
a lot
Judge.
simpler.
Thank you.
All right.
Detective, if you're looking at the same
I was just going to
report.
ask you if you have a page number for that.
Page 24,
Page 24?
I believe.
224 or?
Just 24. And this is a
Okay.
report. Let's see. 3 of 49. 8 on it is 424.15, I think. It's any help, it contains your timeline.
Okay, so it says on the timeline then?
Yes.
All right. I was looking for the interview with the people who recovered it there. So.
That would be a harder
I'm sorry.
search.
That's what I was looking for, so, all right. Do you have the time on that, sir, which is documented?
1:30 a.m.
Okay. My pages are off a little bit here. It was stated to be about half empty.
Okay. And that was something that you recovered yourself?
No, Ambrose Campbell and his girlfriend Rachel Prather, they had recovered it, and obviously when we were seeking information from partygoers, they actually contacted us and I believe brought the jug to us, or I had gone to their house to get the